Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GRC Football TV, Match Day 9 in the English Premier League. And of course, we had the Arsenal-Liverpool game. In our topics today, we will be covering the highlights of that game. We also will be talking about the improvement of Foden, even if Haaland is scoring every week. In the studio, we have Big Dunk, Big Steve, Mr. Hinder, and of course, the angry one. The Arsenal boys are happy, very happy. It is, I hope that, I'm in a WhatsApp group with Big Steve, and he said maybe this should give the players some belief. He said the players, he didn't say the fans. But let us start. It is 7 years with Klopp, and of course, there's this rumor going around that he has a curse after 7 years in every club he has been. But we are going to start today from defense or lack of defending. I'm going to start with Dunk. Trent Alexander-Arnold was exposed today. Martinelli sent him straight away. People are talking about, yeah, he probably had an ankle injury, but he's well known for his assists. But please, we have said it a few times here. You're a defender. You should be able to defend. Was today the exposure?
I think we know what he's like in defence. Obviously, he's had some good seasons. He's been exposed less than this season. He's just not having a great season. Currently, the same as the whole Liverpool team, like where they are in the table, the results they're getting, they're not on a good run. So when that's happening to the whole team, individuals are going to suffer too. But yeah, since it's come into the headlights, it seems to be coming up like more and more in games where Trent's getting exposed. I don't know if pressure's getting to him, and maybe the World Cup squad selection and being left out for England is affecting him at all. But he's not having a great run at the minute. I saw a good stat on Twitter. Someone was trying to defend him and saying that Trent's best season ever nearly matches Reece James's whole career. But I don't think that's going to help him in the England squad currently.
Well, you say that in terms of the team not playing well, and maybe he's been a bit exposed. However, when you watch the game today, we're talking about basic understanding of defending. For example, the first goal, I don't know, was he trying to play an offside line? Your centre back should be the one playing that. And the second goal, when you look at it, there was no reason for him to go as far as he went because, another player was already tracking the attacking player for Arsenal. So people talk about, oh yeah, his assists are wonderful, but it's basic understanding of defending. Big Dunk. As an Arsenal fan, I'm sure you were happy. Martinelli pressing hard and
You're not an Arsenal fan.
You want Big Steve,
You what,
right?
mate?
Yeah, Big Steve.
Big Steve, sorry. You're an Arsenal fan, and you must have been happy with the results. However, as a football fan, Trent Alexander, what do you think?
He's shot of confidence, but he's been made the scapegoat in a poor Liverpool backline. Liverpool defensively have dropped their standards, and yes, Trent is being singled.
You actually think he's being made a scapegoat?
No, because he's being singled out. That everything that Liverpool do poorly defensively.
No, he wasn't. It was about today's game.
Yeah,
No,
but
he is being singled out.
today, he's played poor. Yeah, but over the course of the season, and even the back end of last season, Liverpool have been poor defensively. They've conceded a lot of chances. Yeah, it's just that teams haven't been putting them away. But Trent, yes, there's a problem there. He doesn't get protection from Salah the way he may have done before. So Liverpool have to see what they're going to do with him. Is he best now in a back three and playing as a wing back? So he's released of those defensive responsibilities. That might be the way to go with him.
So
because now
you're saying
have,
one of the solutions you're actually proposing is that he should be relieved of his defensive duties, but he's a defender. First and foremost. Yes, I know he has assists. He does everything wonderfully well. However, he is a defender. So why would you relieve him of his defensive duties?
But I was saying play a back three. So he's as a wing back, not as a defender. Because at the moment, it's going to take him quite a while to operate in a flat back four, especially as the way he likes to advance in his game. Yeah?
Okay, well, talking about advancing his game, the angry one, just still on Trent Alexander. It's people are saying Liverpool's not playing well. He's been made the scapegoat.
Yeah.
You watch that game. The basic defending I'm talking about here is, for example, the second goal. You had a player tracking. Who was it that was making the run?
Martinelli
Martinelli making the run. So you had a player already tracking him. Trent, you look around, you see that you're the only one in the middle. What's the point going to the right hand side? So I
Yeah.
know people talk about Liverpool not playing well, but it's basic understanding as a defender. He should know
Okay.
not to go for that ball.
But
How do you
that's one
defend that?
mistake. Well, I'm not defending that. That was poor defending, ridiculous defending. Obviously, he thought Martinelli was just going to run off the pitch, so he went across. But they're making him a scapegoat. When Martinelli accidentally injured him on his ankle and he was down for a while, blah blah blah. At halftime, he got taken off. Maybe for the injury, maybe tactical. The commentator made a comment about Trent's been taken off, and it's just for the injury, nothing else. Well, who said it was? Who said it was? So there's always this thing. They played a 4-2-4, so he had no cover. Salah's not coming back. They've only got two midfielders. He was always both wing backs were going to get exposed anyway. Tammy Sis wasn't playing all that, to be honest. His man scored 2 goals, but everyone's like Trent. As soon as Trent makes one mistake, and all defenders and all footballers make mistakes, as soon as Trent makes one mistake, he's like the word. Everyone, oh, he can't defend again. He can't defend. Okay, but he's not as bad as people make out. He is making mistakes like all defenders. It's almost like he's the new Maguire because Maguire's not playing now. Everyone's on Trent, and then when Maguire comes back.
Trent being the new Maguire, no chance. At least he assists.
No, he basically
contributes
is because
something.
every single thing. Van Dijk's made mistakes this season, not coming out loads. No one says nothing. But as soon as any ball goes down Trent's side and they score it, sometimes it is Trent's fault. I'm not going to say it isn't. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes people haven't tucked in. Some people they haven't come back. So doesn't come back. But it's Trent's fault because he's supposed to mark 2 people, is it?
Well,
that's Trent's fault. In fact, that's even Klopp's fault because Klopp's not telling Salah to come back and defend him.
you do have a point. It could be Klopp's fault. It could be, but we're talking about the certain situations that happen on the pitch that is obvious.
Yeah. That second goal was ridiculous. I don't know what he was doing.
Going to you, Mr. Hinder, staying on Trent, what do you think about the situation? And Salah, why has he been so quiet this season? What do you think? Is it a mental thing or just he's become too predictable?
So Trent, I agree to a certain extent with everybody. Trent has definitely been made a massive scapegoat this season, and it's easier just to say that it's all Trent's fault than anyone else's. Van Dijk is having a really poor season by Van Dijk standards, which is really hampering Trent's game a lot. Like, he's not as vocal as he was before. He's not making the same decisions. He's not helping and carrying Trent. Same with that midfield. No one in that team is helping Trent out like they were doing before. Trent's the best crosser of the ball in that team, bar none. And he's never been able to defend. Never. Like, we're going to go back. Like, there's a couple of tackles in there, like Paul Scholes. But like, there's nothing that you go and go, oh, Trent is this great fullback. Like, Trent is a great attacking wing back, right? But he can't defend for toffee. That's the same every season. This season, it shows more because he's not helped and carried as much through, which is the biggest problem. So it's not Trent's fault. I mean, it's Trent's fault he can't defend, but Trent shouldn't be put in that situation after 9 games. Klopp is showing he's tactically inept from that situation. And it's 7 years, right? But he needs to change up because that midfield isn't as good as it was before, and that's really hindering the team. Like Mane going, oh great, I'll Salah get back. Like, that isn't the problem. Like, they're not going to come back as deep as Trent and help him out properly anyway. The problem is the organisation isn't as good. Trent is never going to defend as anybody. He's not a Gary Neville fullback, right? He is completely different.
Let me ask you this. You did mention that the angry one mentioned part of the blame could go to Klopp.
All of the blame goes to Klopp.
So you're saying all of the blame goes to Klopp. So what you're saying is that Liverpool is actually playing with the right side of defense because Salah doesn't go back and Trent doesn't go back. So what?
No. See, it's all Klopp's fault. So Klopp, you don't put 3 strikers in defence and hope your team's going to do all right. So he knows that Trent doesn't defend as good as a proper fullback, as an old traditional from my era fullback would defend. Right, toe poking the ball out, tracking back. He doesn't do that. He doesn't really have that tactical, like maybe Reece James does for his defensive skills. But Trent is 10 times better than most other players in the Premier League at going forward and getting those crosses in. And with his pace, he has got that ability. Klopp knows that it isn't working and it hasn't worked this season. And Klopp needs to go, right, either we put 3 at the back, like Steve said earlier, and take his defensive G's, push him further up the pitch and see how he can get on.
3 at the back.
But at the moment, they're trying to continue doing the same thing and getting different results. And that just doesn't work. You can't do the same thing every week and expect something different. And
Or
it comes to the
them.
point, right, where Klopp has to say either I want a defensive fullback and not Trent, which is fine, or Trent needs to be pushed into some other position in order to help out, because at the moment,
Cancelo.
it just doesn't work. And unfortunately, if we were talking of this happening in a Notts Forest team or a Leicester team, and Tielemans was continuously playing as centre back, and we're like, oh, well, Leicester are getting beat every week, but Tielemans can play centre back, but he's better midfielder, but he's still playing there. You'd be like, well, that's Brendan's fault, but we're not going like it is 100% Klopp's fault of the situation that he has continued to allow himself to be in. He needs to either withdraw him, change the tactics up, change the personnel up, and go, right, this is what we want. Because, as I say, Trent's too far gone in his career to change the way that he's playing at the back. And I think he's a great football player, but he's not my number one right back.
But true, he's not your number one right back, because we've mentioned the fact about defending. Big Dunk, let me go to you on this one. So you see how we mentioned, so Harry Kane has adapted his playing style. Sometimes we criticize him for dropping too deep, and
All the time.
last season he scored 17 goals, even with dropping too deep. He didn't start really well. This season he's still dropping deep, and he has scored 8 goals so far. 8 Premier League goals in 9 matches. Not bad. So now Trent has always been, the situation has always been, oh, he's not a good defender, but he contributes more going forward. Why is it that we can criticize Harry Kane for blending his game, but with Trent, that he's actually supposed to defend, but people still mention he's a bad defender, but he's good going forward? So is it a case, as Mr. Hinder said, just drop him and put somebody else, or you think his attacking skills is good enough to keep him on that 11?
Well, I think with a Kane comparison, you can't really do the comparison because Kane's successful. He's adapted his game and he's still getting success. He's getting goals.
Not last 6 hours.
That's his job. I mean, we criticise him for England because it affects how the rest of the team play, but he does still get goals, and he still gets goals for Spurs. So in terms of that comparison, we can let that one off. But yeah, with Trent, I think Neil's got a bit of a point. It just reminds me, I think we've all been there if you've ever played Football Manager. You've done your invincible season, you've won the quadruple, and then you just go out the next season with the same tactics and nothing works and you just get beat. But yeah, he's got a point there where like Klopp has to take some responsibility because the team is weaker and it's not performing as it was last season and the season before that. So they've been really strong. And they've lost a couple of players, and like Trent is Trent, like Neil said. Klopp knows how he plays. Like he's having some poor form, but like on that flip side of that, what you just said, JJ, you don't drop Trent. I'm pretty sure, like in Liverpool, like
you don't drop Trent.
No, you don't drop Trent. Like
okay,
who you bringing in? Like, so what's going to happen?
First of all, you saying that you don't drop Trent goes against the fact. So the angry one and Mr. Hinder are convinced it's Klopp's fault because obviously your tactic is not working. You're saying you don't drop Trent. So are you saying that he needs
Dunk's
to
in agreement as well? It's Klopp's fault.
Dunk's in agreement.
No, I know. I'm not saying he's in disagreement, but I'm saying if you're saying you don't drop him, does that mean Klopp has to create a style of play that still involves Trent in the team, even if that would be defensively weaker?
But he had a style of play. It worked. So look
and it's a bit predictable now, so it's not
working.
working.
Any weaker defensively.
So, but
what's
the problem? What the problem is their middle. The midfield is not got the legs that they used to have. Liverpool's midfield always used to shuffle across and cover the fullbacks when they bombed on. Now you've got Henderson, Milner, Thiago. They haven't got the legs to run around.
Half of those.
So they got. So they haven't got the legs to cover and double up and help the fullbacks the way they used to. So that's what's being exposed. So they need someone in the middle of the park to run around and provide the energy that Klopp's teams normally have. And that's what's being shown this season.
If you compare it, so when Zinchenko or even Tierney bombs forward, for the Arsenal team currently, you got what used to have Xhaka who was sitting. So he'll come into midfield, and similar to Cancelo, you've got a really attacking fullback in Zinchenko. Alexander, they bomb forward. The tactics allow for that by somebody else covering. But lately, they're not doing that for Trent. And then you're going to go and blame Trent after. Well, okay, if that's the case, if I'm Trent, I'm not going to bomb on. I'm just going to stay back then. And then
I
I'll get
mean,
criticised again
it,
for
it
not
could be
being
a
the
good
manager's
point,
tactics.
but Zinchenko has still not been exposed as a bad defender.
Because people cover. The team covers him.
You've got to play as a
No one's-
team. It's
As a team.
that's what they're missing this season. There must be something to go week in and week out and showing us the same clips of Trent doing something wrong, right? I mean, you could, and if it's every game, like there's no way that they don't sit down with him and discuss it. But if they're only discussing it with him and they're not saying, guys, you've got to shift across when Trent goes up, or why haven't we got someone sitting in front of the back four at all times, like just to mop up either left or right? And every team is going to expose Trent over the top because his game is to be that far up the pitch, right? And Martinelli's a quick lad. Like we're not talking of anyone slow on that on the left. He's quick, and if he wants to sit deep, which Trent never wants to do, he'd have to sit really deep in order to never let him go past. And then you take out a whole chunk of the attacking game from Liverpool, which would be a shame.
If Trent was a centre back, I'd say okay, because his primary role is to defend. Fair enough, but his primary role is not to defend anyway. In general, as a wing back, so they're only going to show the last pass where he's done something silly. But you've not seen the fact that no one's tracked back before that, no one's cut in. He's kind of left in two minds of what to do. He's not the best defender anyway, as it's shown. He then makes a mistake, or not even a mistake. There's nothing he can do. They score, and it's all Trent's fault, as if it was just one ball over the top into his area, and nobody else was involved in the play. No, well, that's not the case.
Klopp went into the game with a strange tactic. The fact that he
4-2-4
played a
was that.
4-4-2-4, and then that kind of like guaranteed that Trent and Martinelli are going to be one-on-one. You've got someone who's under criticism, defending against someone who's really on top of his game and improving. And everybody knows Martinelli's direct, so he's going to put pressure on Trent.
Do you
Now,
think?
on the other,
Sorry, Steve. I'll ask you in a second, Karen, mate.
yeah, and then on the other side, you look at the tactic that Arteta done at left back. He brought in Tomiyasu. He didn't play Tierney, and that's kind of like against what he does because he normally likes left-footed players at left back. But he done that because Tomiyasu, his style of play will keep Salah quiet and not leave the Tierney will get more exposed against Salah. Yeah, so he respected the attacking and made the decision. But what Klopp done with Trent to leave him one-on-one with Martinelli, that was always going to be a loss.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 points from the game. Steve, the first question that I'll ask you was, do you think that Klopp showed Arsenal a complete lack of respect playing exactly the same team as they did against Rangers in the week?
Yes.
Which I thought that was an insultment, right? Like there was no change. And I thought, I suppose it's more of a point, Arteta actually played in a different way to who they usually play for that game, which showed that they were adaptable and it's not just a one win approach and a one rule approach, which is what I find the problem with Klopp. Doesn't really change stuff up. Once he's done it, that's it. That game was not set out to go, oh, we're playing Arsenal, who are on absolute fire up front at the moment for them. Let's put Jota and Nunes on and hope that we get every ball straight through. It was
But there's a big issue there as well, Neil. Apart from, you're right, the bigger issue is you can continue to play the same way if you've got the team to do it, but you haven't strengthened your team. We went back to it before. You haven't strengthened your midfield. You're a year older. Everyone's got better, and you're trying to play the same way with old legs in there. It's not going to be possible all the time.
And it's funny that you say that because he mentioned that he said the team has become too predictable and we have to adjust our game. And well, clearly he probably thought he was still playing the same Arsenal. Big Steve, you did mention Tomiyasu has left. It was it took me by surprise where you had Ben White, Gabriel. What did Arsenal fans call him? Rolls Royce Saliba, and then you have Tomiyasu had left. Tomiyasu had left, and I was like, "What's this guy doing?" You have Tierney on the bench, but he played really well, contained Salah. So now the question goes to ask you, Big Steve. Salah is having a very quiet season. I don't know what's wrong with him. Is it, as I said, is it becoming too predictable? As defenders now understand, okay, this is what he's going to do. Or was it just a case that Tomiyasu was the defense of Arsenal played really well? And you could argue that the goals conceded were a bit easy. However, Tomiyasu, one-on-one with Salah, played really well.
Yeah, Tomiyasu played really well. It's his style of defending that helps him against Salah out of all the Arsenal defenders because he plays touch tight and he tracks the runs very well. He doesn't get lost and gets caught looking at the ball very often. He's always tracking his man, knows where he is, and he's quick as well. can adjust really well. So I think that's what Salah struggled with today.
He
Okay,
struggled
and
all season though as
he's
well.
been
To be
struggling
honest.
all season, so I have no
He'll
idea
come good.
whether he's
He'll
part
come
of the
good.
fold. But the thing is now, surely, Dunk, Ben White, there's no issue now. All this Ben White is not a right back. He has proven that right now that position is his. And would you play him at right back in England? I know how you like your England things.
I don't think I play a right back at England, but I definitely have him in the squad.
If Rhys James was injured, who would you play?
Trippier.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
I would play Trippier because he's a great set piece specialist. But yeah, Ben White does deserve his place in the squad. Like the fact that he can play right back and centre back, like he's got that over a couple of the right backs. And yeah, he's done a good job in right back. Like he's been playing there pretty much the whole season. And no one really saw that coming. So again, that'd be. I think probably with England, we've probably got too many right backs in the squad. There's the old joke about how many defenders. What's the joke I saw this week? I can't remember. It was about one of the attackers. Are you going to get in the England squad? Oh, it's about Madison. It's about Madison. Are you going to get in the England squad? No, I'm an attacker, and I'm in good form, so I'm not going to make the squad. So yeah, but I think Ben White deserves his place in the England team. Yeah, definitely. Like over some of the other people that made it.
I saved this question because I think the best person to actually go through it, considering he watched the game, the best person to go through it would have to be Mr. Hinder. Martinelli was very direct, had a good game, was picked out as man of the match. However, Saka. Doom, 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 doom.
Yeah, and what have I
Saka.
been saying week in and week out? He needs to.
Can you
Yeah,
tell
okay.
us what have you been saying week in, week out?
I've been saying that he's got no end product and needs to get an end product in order to be classed as a better player than he has been, right? And he hasn't been playing as well as he could have been. The other week he was running across the whole pitch. He scored a good goal and a penalty. I think that he had a good game. Martinelli, I think, was slightly better just because his directness and his whole game was just a little bit better than Saka. But Saka did play very, very well.
Just to
today.
interrupt you slightly,
Yes.
Martinelli, he's one of them players that, regardless of how the game goes, you always think he has a good game because he doesn't stop.
always have good games.
He keeps moving. He's regardless of whatever he does, he's one of those crowd favorite that he continue.
Yeah.
Saka is a bit more mature. It's a bit more. He knows when to release the ball. He doesn't hold on to the ball. He's not going to try and take on
Exactly.
3 or 4 players. So, do you think that goes against him, or is it just you say, you know your love for Saka, Mr.
No,
Henry?
he had a good game today. Like, I've got no. I think he's been listening to the podcast and realised that he needs to get more goals and assists in order to progress and not become stale. And he did today, and they did really well. And I think that the front three for Arsenal should get massive praise as being the best front three in the Premier League this season. They haven't got the best player. Obviously, Haaland is the best player in the Premier League so far this season. But as a three, if I'm picking three, I'm picking those three because they're playing so well together. Martinelli was immense today. I think they're different type of players. I don't think that Saka is more mature because I still think he makes a lot of wrong decisions with regards to.
You don't think
his
he's more
pass.
mature than
he's
Martinelli?
way more mature.
No, I think
He's
he
way
makes a
more
lot of wrong
mature.
decisions with his passing. There was one point today he ran like 20 yards back. He could have just passed the ball back. There was like no need for that at all.
No. I think you watched the game.
Martinelli does continue to bomb forward, but when you're playing against that team, his information today would have been continuously bomb forward on that side. You've got Trent there, will expose that. You just need to keep bombing forward, and that was literally it. And that's got to be the tactic you're going to play against when you're leaving Trent exposed at the back.
No, but to be honest,
whoever
that's
else.
not true. Martinelli plays the same way every game. Let's be honest with Martinelli. The reason why we all love him, or most of us love him, he has that childlike quality. He just keeps running, keeps trying.
He enjoys himself.
He's made some awful decisions in that game. I was trying at the screen a few times. He's dribbling through 5 players.
There was a couple of passes that were terrible from his today.
He's just got to release the ball, and he won't release it. And at the moment he still holds on to it too long. The difference between him and Saka, with regard to maturity, is Saka knows when to release the ball, and that comes with maturity. To be honest,
I mean, they're the same age. They're the same age.
Yeah, but maturity in terms of play, like knowing when to release the ball is a skill in itself.
I mean, so watching Arsenal play, and in terms of maturity, I do agree with Mr. Hinder that Saka needs to score more because I think he has raised his game to a particular level where assists and scoring more. but saying that he has no end product, saying
Well, that
he's a
is an
this,
end
he's a
product,
that,
right? Assistant and
No,
scoring.
but
That's the only end
saying
product
he's
that
this
he
and
needs.
that.
But Martinelli's sole purpose on that pitch is to get in behind and pretty much score.
Yeah.
He's always looking for that. That's how he plays. And Foden's like that now, to be honest, as well. We'll get onto that another time. But basically, they don't believe him play the same way. Saka is doesn't get in behind as much, so he's not going to be in that many goal scoring positions compared to someone like Martinelli. So, but he will get more assists. There's a few times that Martinelli gets to the byline. If that's Saka, he's whipping it in. If Martinelli, that goal for Saka, that was a shot for Martinelli. He wasn't passing that. That was a shot. Yeah, a scuffed shot. But obviously he's a fan favorite because he's so direct. But let's look at the game properly and see, well, actually he's got a lot of things he can improve to be an even better player.
Oh,
We just love his-
100%.
we
I
just-
agree with
we
that.
just love his enthusiasm. And sometimes we're marking Saka down for having the maturity and sense to keep the ball. Whereas Martinelli won't keep the ball. He'll keep running and try to run through everybody, five players when there's just one simple pass. But we will love it.
I'll say one thing that's benefiting Martinelli is having Zinchenko behind him this season. And again,
Zinchenko
Tomiyasu
or
today.
Tierney, whoever's behind him, or Tomiyasu after today, it's just the man. They
No,
help
no,
him going.
I think when Tierney plays behind him, we're more vulnerable
Because they both go forward.
sometimes Martinelli doesn't track back. Sometimes the way he loses the ball and a quick turnover can leave us on the back foot. But I think having Shevchenko behind him has allowed his game to be better this season.
Okay, incidents, people. 15 minutes into the game, Gabriel, the ball was played, touched his hand. VAR checked, they said it wasn't a penalty. Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Dunk, agreement that wasn't a penalty?
I'd agree it's not a penalty. The only thing I would say, again, is just inconsistency. There was a penalty in one of the other games awarded for exactly the same thing. Yeah, I think... Yeah, anyone remind me which game had the penalty? It was a defense. It was exactly the same thing. Like when players jump, you use your arms and your momentum to swing. So it's the same way.
But they like to claim that your hand is not in the natural position.
Natural
so
position.
yeah,
But like
yeah,
when you're jumping for height, obviously you start there and you come down, and when you come back down, your arms like balance yourself out. So it's the same kind of thing. Like I'd agree it's not a penalty, but they need consistency again on this because there was a penalty in one of the other games that was exactly the same thing.
All in agreement with Dunk? Anybody have a different view? Yep, all in agreement. All right, fast forward. Thiago's tackle on Jesus
Stonewall pen.
that wasn't given as a penalty. Is that a penalty? The angry one. You've already said so. Was that a penalty?
Stonewall pen.
Sorry?
Stonewall pen. It's a
Stonewall pen, but that wasn't given.
Yeah.
Anybody have a different view?
No, it should have been, but it didn't make a difference in the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, this is a moment in time, history. Everybody agreeing on the same point at GRC Football TV. My good God, this should be recorded. However, the last thing on the Arsenal game, well, as well, you guys have mentioned, Klopp needs to change the game. They become too predictable. Certain things need to change. We need to give credit, though. Credit to Arteta. Playing Tomiyasu left took a lot of people by surprise. Towards the end of the game, switching Tomiyasu to play centre back and bringing Tierney in to make it a bit more compact. Still leaving Martinelli on and Saka having a good game. Partey playing really well. Xhaka playing really well. Once again, I asked this last week, and I'm going to ask everybody. Quick, simple answer. I'll start with Mr. Hinder. Surely, they're title contenders.
I said it last week, though, title contenders.
Yeah, you are the only one. I'm just checking if you've changed your mind. I mean, you change your mind.
After a
every
win?
week.
No, I mean, it was Liverpool, and they do concede at least 2 goals a game. But no, definitely title contenders. They've got to be considered up there. There's only... I mean, Potter looks pretty decent at Chelsea now. But they're the top 4, right? That only look like they're going to do anything now. Man City, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Chelsea.
Dunk.
Title contenders in the fact that they could finish second. Yeah. Title contenders in the fact that they can keep up with Man City. No.
I like that. Dunk, man. Well said. Big Steve?
Exactly what Dunk said.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
But he said it so well.
All right.
Don't do that.
All right. Do we still say that? I mean, I think we're all on 100% agreement. But what if Haaland gets injured for 6 months?
I like that.
They didn't have Haaland last season.
Yeah,
They didn't.
but what if
matter.
Partey gets injured for 6 months? Well, no. What about when Partey gets injured for 6 months? Then what?
They'd have to put a lot of onus on Alvarez.
Yeah.
Well,
He's a decent guy, but he's not Haaland, isn't it?
well,
Yeah.
after 9 games with 1 loss, 8 wins, Arsenal are playing really well. They're looking like they're going for the title, even if people do not believe, even their own
Who beat
fans.
them?
But where's it? I would
Who
like
beat
to
them?
say,
Yeah.
Man
Man
United, baby. Woo!
I
But-
would like to say there was a concern for the last, say, 25 minutes of the first half where our midfield went missing.
Yeah.
Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard couldn't put a glove on Thiago and Henderson.
But you know what I would say, what I liked about that performance today.
Can we wait 2 seconds for Dunk to come back and then just so I can
I wouldn't
edit him
wait
back in? He's had enough.
Because you know, we're going to talk about Leeds in a minute.
yeah, what you would say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was saying.
No,
Hold on.
your one was fine. We'll cut that. Don't worry about
Mike,
it.
go on.
Yeah.
It was Mike.
Yeah, I would
Everyone?
say what I enjoyed most about it, the win, is that they were up for scrap. There was a lot of aggie going on in the game. They weren't just like just
Of
taking
course.
it, giving.
Things that make you go tick.
Yeah, no, listen.
the
If
angry one.
you're up for winning titles or title contenders or winning games, you got to have it. You got to be ready to have it. You can't just be there shaking people's hands that you're playing against like we're mates.
That's why he's called the angry.
Yeah,
one.
we're not
There you
mates till
go.
after the game.
I
All
think he's
good.
got a point there. I think there's a little bit of tooth and nail to Arsenal at the moment,
Yeah.
where they look like they're happy to kick someone and play nice football, which is
Xhaka was strangling
thing to see,
what's
right?
his face, Hendo at one point.
Strongly.
Loved it.
there's a
Turn
cuddle.
you on, eh? All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Good win for the Arsenal. Beating Tottenham, beating Liverpool. They're looking good. And it's looking like a good season to come. Liverpool not playing really well. Klopp needs to step up his game and make them a bit, less predictable. So, moving on to Man City v Southampton. It was a game that everybody expected City to win, at least everybody here on GRC Football TV. But Haaland scoring again, that is becoming normal. It's becoming a given from the way the season looking. 15 goals in 9 games? Looking wonderful. However, Haaland has come to the team and it seems that it's also improved the likes of Phil Foden. We've talked about Phil Foden many times on this podcast. They've compared him with Saka, compared him to a lot of players. But let's just talk about, let's start with it looks like a goal scoring improvement. Big Steve, Phil Foden. There's a lot of people that used to say, apart from playing for Pep, he really cannot adapt his game. But for some reason, he looks like he's adapting his game to Haaland, and he said that he's improving as a player. Do you think he's becoming slowly and slowly as mature as everybody expects him to be?
I would say he's being given opportunities now with Haaland in the side, because teams seem to be occupied like they need two defenders on Haaland now because they're scared. So that's creating spaces for people like Foden, and give him space, he will hurt you.
So you think you think the improvement that Haaland has actually given to the City team and to Foden is he has created more space for Foden? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's occupying defenses, not even just a player. Like he's occupying the defense. So whoever's playing, is it Foden, Grealish, Mahrez when he gets back on form, they're gonna get more space because of that.
So the angry one, we've talked off air about Foden in terms of one of the things that we mentioned was his inability to probably adapt to other styles of play if it's not with Man City or Pep style. We kind of saw it at the Euros initially. He started and he was dropped, but now he's looking like he's scoring more goals. He has played a few more games for England after that Euros. Do you think he's improving as a player? Do you think he can adapt to any team? Or is it just a case, as Steve said, because more space has been created, he can do his thing?
I don't know about the. I'm sure he can adapt his style. We'll see if he ever leaves Man City or if Man City changes manager. But I think the other thing that's improved with him is the mentality and the hunger to score goals. Because before, for me, he was a bit fluffy, tippy-tappy, wants to look good on the ball. But there's a certain hunger that comes when you start scoring goals and you just want to do it again. It's a bit of an addiction, to be fair, for certain types of players. And that hunger, that addiction means he gets into more positions where he'll shoot rather than pass. Foden last season, yeah, he scores goals, but he's trying to square it to somebody or whatever. Now, because A, Haaland's occupying players, and B, he's got the bloodlust now. He's just trying to score goals as well, and so you're going to see him score more and more goals, or at least get into more and more goal scoring positions because he has that hunger. There's something that Saka, I agree with Neil on that. Saka needs to get that bloodlust in terms of wanting to score more goals, like being a bit more selfish. And I think you're seeing that with Foden, that he's more selfish in terms of he thinks about the goal first and then set the pass second, which is a good thing for City and England.
For some reason, when it comes to England, my mind just goes to Dunk, man. I personally think Dunk will manage England one day. Personally,
I hope so. We'll get
I see
tickets.
Do you know what I was going to say, JJ? You were just asking about Foden being adaptable. I said it's a bit of a tall order to ask any of these players to adapt to Gareth Southgate's tactics when they have to go and
There
play
you
for
go.
England. Maybe apart from Harry Kane, because he just seems to just decide what tactics he's going to play anyway.
I'm going to ask you this, though, now that you've said that. So, England going to the World Cup, there's only one slot left. He has picked his players. Let's say there are, 26 players to go to the World Cup? He has picked 25. Now, there's one slot left, and that slot is between Foden and Saka. Dunk, who goes to the World Cup and why?
What kind of made up scenario is
It's a
this?
good scenario.
Who got in ahead of them? Jesus. Like,
Go in, apparently. He's got again today.
who goes? If you had to make me answer that question, I would go for Foden.
Why?
Why? I think he's a bit more flexible than Saka. He's a bit more, like we said about Saka, a bit more mature in his play. He's got an end product that he's shown this season. He can assist. I've got him in my fantasy football team. He's banging loads of points for me. So
Yeah, he'll be man next week.
he's earned it from my point of view. But yeah, if it was just between those two, I think I'd go for Foden, because you could stick him anywhere. You can play him on the left or the right or cam, which you could do with Saka as well, play out wide. But I think I would go for Foden. Just for how well he's performing this season.
I mean, Saka is performing.
And I think, sorry, just on that topic, like when we were talking about Klopp and Liverpool, part of it as well, I think you've got the opposite effect at Man City. You've got Haaland in, the team's just improving and playing really well, and all the players are able to up their game because of that.
I mean, in terms of improving the team, Haaland is doing to Man City what Jesus is doing to Arsenal. I think Jesus going there has improved a lot of players, people, and the way he plays and the way he's carrying the team, in the sense, not carrying as being the main man, but people just say, okay, fine, we have a good player, it's inspired them. Going back to Foden, though, Mr. Hinder, you're one of them people that, for example, you want Reece James to play in the middle. Where would you say is Foden's best position for look, the way he has played for City and the way he plays for England? Let's start with England first. Where do you think is his best position for England?
Anywhere he bloody well likes. I mean,
Defense?
he is I mean, if he really wants to play, why not? Him and Trent, they could take turns and leaving it exposed at the back. It's interesting. If you look at his heat maps and look at his statistics of where he's played this season, he's played on left and on right. So it really is going to be down to who is the other player that's going to play with Foden, right? Foden for me is there. Now, who do we have? Do we have Saka? Do we have Grealish in? Whoever we have in, Sterling, yes. For me, Foden just goes the other side, right? So whoever he picked, you have Foden and another, and whoever the another is, Foden just plays the other side. And I was looking at it, and you go, oh, yeah, but he can't do as well on both. He does fantastically well on both sides. It's amazing that you've got a player that can play so well in the same, I know it says the same position each side of the pitch and still come up with the goods.
But has he done that for England though?
No one's done anything for England like they do for their club. Okay, we've not had that in my life. I'm still hoping that one day that we have that. I mean, he's done it for England. Of course, he hasn't. He hasn't got Haaland playing for him. He hasn't got the De Bruyne in midfield. And then it's a whole different ball game when you get to international football and playing against international teams and the way that the mindset works differently. Can Foden be the best ever England player? Like at the moment, he is the player that I would put my ultimate trust of going. He is going to be that. He is that good. He is that
Saying
special.
that, are you saying so? First of all, you said nobody has done anything for England. I could disagree and say Sterling did. Kane has. And you saying that he's that special?
Yeah,
are
but
you saying
not
right
like
now
he's
going
doing
into
for
the World
City?
Cup, he's
Yeah.
the main man. He's the guy.
He's the
take
guy that
England
had because he what's good is he's come out from that behind the striker role, right? Which is nice. And now he's gone wide and his game has changed and he's learning way more. He's more aggressive. He's getting more assists. He's scoring more goals. He's getting more confidence. Like Duncan said, he's obviously getting a lot more space because everyone's pooping their pants because they've got Haaland in the team, right? And you've got 8 defenders all on Haaland to try and take him out of the game, and you're forgetting about everyone else. But that's a whole team. That could be similar for England with Harry Kane. He's still a threat,
No,
and
he
they will
drops
still be
deep.
taken away. But that's the issue that we'll have, where how and where Kane will play. But with Foden and Sterling, for example, they can both get behind. And they can both play on it in a completely different way, and even similar to Kane on the fact that they could get behind the defenders, and then Kane could be the one that drops deeper and almost be a false 9. So it's going to be interesting because this is going to be Kane's last tournament, really, as our main man.
You sure? He
Yes,
could.
I don't think
You,
he will.
you don't
Because
think he can
whoever
make?
comes in, they all say it. Every time someone comes in, if Southgate goes, when Don comes in and goes, I'm having a young team, I'm starting again. And they all start again with a really nice young team. And then in 7 or 8 years' time, they've still got some of those players in and they haven't continued to. That's bred in the new players and bred in some of the youngsters. So, yeah, for me, I think it's going to be Kane's last big one. He might just retire regardless and go, right, you know what, I've got my a good club. But back to the Foden point, Foden definitely, and whoever else they want to play with Foden will be in there. But Foden.
Match day 9, ladies and gentlemen, in the Premier League. So, of course, the wonderful pundits in the studio will have to go through some of the games and tell us what they thought. So, we will start with Brighton v Tottenham. Big Steve.
Nothing much to report. The game weren't all that.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks, man.
I don't know if Tottenham were feeling the death in
Psychologically
amongst
damaged.
because they had the death in their staff, first team staff during the week. So it seemed to have affected the players. Even looking at their interviews after the game, some of them were visibly upset. Harry Kane, his voice cracked a few times where it was emotional. So I don't know if that affected their performance, but it wasn't a great game. Tottenham got the goal. Brighton were wasteful in terms of when they were going forward. It was interesting that Conte went to a 3-5-2, decided to pack out the midfield, gave Basuma a start. But again, Tottenham, the question mark over Tottenham is their creativity from the middle. And that was evident again yesterday. He went with Son and Kane up front, no Richarlison, but they just seemed a bit leggy, no creativity. So is it something that they need to address in the January transfer window? I think it is, because they can't go through the season and be challenging for the league, I think, playing this type of football.
Well, with Tottenham, though, a lot of clubs are always complaining about certain things not being all good off the pitch, but they have a good stadium. They have spent a good amount of money. They have a world-class manager. But this season, they seem to be grinding out results. They're not actually playing well. Apart from the first game of the season where they beat Southampton, they're not actually playing really well. So is it still a good thing that they're grinding out results even if they're not playing well? Or, as you said, so apart from the game this weekend, a death is not a good thing. But do you see them, becoming better? Does they start playing better?
Maybe slightly, but Conte's style is to have his teams grind out results and not lose. They're not going to do, how can I say? They're not going to go out there and play like Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, look to dominate teams with possession and stuff. They just want to, Conte's about the result. Doesn't really care how he gets it so long as he gets the 3 points.
Okay, well, we shall see what happens with Tottenham. Grinding out results here and there. Hopefully, something they might turn the corner and start actually playing well. Maybe they've been affected by the loss to the North London derby. All right, so Bournemouth v Leicester. Of course, Dunk is happy. Things are happening for his team. So Leicester, after winning Nottingham Forest, Maddison looking like he might be called back to the England team with people saying he's looking so wonderful. Unfortunately, couldn't get the 3 points against your team, Dunk.
They could not indeed. So that this one has like echoes of the Forest game. Like we were 2-0 down there, and came back in the second half. 1-0 down against Leicester, came back in the second half. So other than like amazing results of Bournemouth over the last 5 games, barely conceding any goals and being undefeated. Like they're showing like some good signs in that regard, that they can come back in matches where they're going behind. There was quite a lot made, I saw on social media, about Bournemouth scored their 2 goals straight after Rodgers had brought on a Marty, which fans weren't very happy about. So they were kind of like blaming Rodgers for the tactical changes and saying a Marty is not good enough. But it's just, things are going really well at Bournemouth since the Scott Parker sacking. So I think it's a story of well, that's the fact. It's just what's happened. Like the club took a lot of flack when they sacked Scott Parker, but if you look at what's happened since, he was moaning about like, oh, you have to give me money. These players are not good enough. He was saying all that out publicly, and now O'Neill's come in and he's got this exactly the same players, and he's got them playing much better, much tighter at the back, and they've been unbeaten in the last 5 games. So like you can't argue with the facts.
Just as you say, new manager bounce. Maybe this is what is happening. Bournemouth are actually playing well, but we shall see. Big Steve, something to add to that?
Would you give him the job permanently, Dunk?
It's always a tough one, isn't it? Because like I think people always shy away from giving caretakers jobs permanently. It's happened a couple of times in the Premier League.
Sorry, can we confirm you're talking about caretaker managers, not just generally caretakers? That's
yeah, caretaker managers in the Premier League, Mike. Yes, not caretakers in your local school. So yeah, people normally shy away from that. But like seeing what they've done in the last 5 games, okay, yeah, it's been easier opposition, but like the manner of the way they've played since conceding 9 to Liverpool. If you ask me, I'd definitely give them a chance for it longer. Like maybe when it comes to caretakers, well, I don't know if they're like think they have to give them 5-year contracts. Maybe just give him a contract to the end of the season and see how he does there. But I think he would definitely keep them in the Premier League, like the way they're going.
All good. Newcastle, Brentford, the angry one.
Cracking game. Well, it was as good as it was bad. The attacking from Newcastle, the pressing, all that sublime, like the old days of Esprit and those boys, champagne football. But the defending from Brentford, they gave away 2 goals. That geezer Pinnock, it's like he had the spirit of Maguire in him. Oh man, I haven't seen defending that bad, like ever. Like it was terrible. It's one of those bad days. But that aside, I mean, like they gifted 2 goals, but they'd have lost that game regardless. Because I mean, Almer and Gomes, just quality. They'd hunt people down in packs. They'd win the ball. They'd play the ball forward. Just really relentless. Trippier did his bits again. They did a sublime set piece where they played it back, and then he's crossed it, and then the guy's coming at the far post. But it was well worked. Like they planned it. It wasn't just like a hit and hope. It's beautiful. They're looking really good, to be honest. I mean, top 6, maybe, perhaps. Maybe
so Wolves,
that's what happens when you got Eddie Howe as manager. You come up with great stuff like that.
So Wolves sacked Bruno Lage because they said they gave him the amount of money he wanted. He got the players he wanted, and still he couldn't improve the team. Diego Costa came in. Are we looking at a Wolves team that might be looking at relegation?
Yeah.
I mean, is that to anyone who just shout and stuff? I mean, I was looking at the game, but it just seemed like you were chatting to everybody. Wolves were unlucky, to be honest. At the first half, they were fairly decent. They haven't got the quality of players that maybe they want, and he hasn't bought maybe the best. He hasn't spent maybe the money as well as he should have done on who they've got in that team. It still needs strengthening. They were like top half of the league, weren't they, for a while, and now they've just literally teetered off. If they continue as they are, they will go down without a doubt. Chelsea came into the game in the second half, dominated, but Wolves are just poor. They don't look good. I mean, Havertz scored. It wasn't a good performance at all, but my man scored as well. Got his first goal of the season, which was good news. Brozier, yeah. Said he'd get a decent goal, and it's good to see Potter coming in and making the team harder to beat, and Kepa again in goal. Well, there's nothing more you want for Chelsea. They look good, solidified. Take nothing away from Chelsea's good performance, but Wolves definitely need major drastic.
And just what you said about Wolves signing, it's like, I think it's been reported that Everton can make Cody's transfer permanent for 5 million. Like, that's just awful. Like, management.
Well,
by
how
Wolves,
much? How much do you think he's worth?
Yeah, but it's one thing letting him go out on loan when people want. He's an English, like, decently performing centre back in the Premier League. Like, it's one thing letting him go out loan. It's another one putting some clause in there that means they can sign him permanently for like some cut price fee. He's been in and around the England squad. 5 million, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like 10, 15 at least.
Yeah, it's been poor management, I think, and from Wolves, which everyone was going, Elijah was doing all right, but I think there's a lot of mistakes and mismanagement that's happened at that club that's got them on a big decline. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do struggle to stay.
In terms of mismanagement, though, you do say that, but when they had Espirito Santo, they seemed all good.
Yep.
Although people complain about the football that they were playing, but the management was hailed as really good. They're getting good players in, sticking to budget. So all of a sudden, when the results are not going their way, why would you say that's mismanagement?
Well, because it was. They got bad.
Nuno go.
Yeah, but Nuno went, but they were on a bit of a slippery slope when Nuno went, and it hasn't been steadied properly after that. They've continued with the same ethos, buying Portuguese. There's only so many players that you can get until you need to have a good rethink of your team. The structure, changing formations, Traore coming back into the
playing
team.
more attacking football with Bruno Lage, and last season
you don't have to play attacking football. This is the whole. I mean, look at top Spurs are a
you
good
say
example
that, but that's
you
what the
don't
fans
have-
always demand.
I don't think they do. Fans want to be in games. They want to be looking like they're competitive. You only need to start playing attacking football when you're good enough to play attacking football. And there's no point. Norwich tried it, remember? And they went straight down.
The same situation like Stoke. Under Tony Pulis, they play compact football. Everybody started complaining it was boring. Mark Hughes came in.
Not straight away though. They only complained when they got comfortable, when they were consistently in the top half.
He was there for 4.5 seasons.
Yeah. But the first 2 seasons that he's playing dire football, nobody complained. They were just happy to be in the Prem. So it's when people start getting above their station and start thinking that they're better or bigger than they actually
same thing
really
with
are.
Wolves. They've been in for how many seasons now? And the same complaint comes out. Oh, yeah, football. They were tagged as a team that was waiting for the other team to make a mistake before they could actually play.
But I mean,
Floyd Mayweather's boxed like that for 40-odd fights. So there's nothing wrong with it if it works.
I think Neil will have that time. You've got to have sort of like an elite football mentality, which some of those teams don't have. So Neil's probably best to talk about that because he supports a non-Prem team. So, but like, for example, Neil would rather play champagne football in League 2 or League 1 than come up and play in the Prem. Okay, it's the Prem, but you're getting slapped every week. Some fans don't want that. So when they start talking about they want champagne football in the Prem, but they're not a Prem team, ultimately they're going to go down, and then that's when they can win a league or get in the playoffs, stuff like that. What do you think, Neil? You've got that mentality.
So, as a fan of a lower league team, a very good one, and the goals on the weekend were fantastic. By the way, Wednesday fan here. Football is about a couple of things. One, having a really good time watching the game, right? That's the important thing. Getting involved with the fans and having decent away fans and home fans and that side of things is really, really important. Do we want something to cheer out? Yeah, of course we do. But we also want to be in the game. We also want to be cheering fouls. We want to be cheering, booing the goalkeepers and calling and shouting stuff out. It's all about the atmosphere of it, and that is generated by the fans. It's only a certain level you get to, and you go, "Oh, we should be playing the same way as Pep," and you were like, "Oh, that's definitely the way my team should be." Of course, I want my team to play like that. But when you haven't got the players, you have to be pragmatic and realistic about how your team go about it. And it's nothing. There's more than one way to play football, and look at Spain, right? They were the tiki-taka team that everyone was going, this is brilliant to watch. And everyone went, oh, Spain are boring to watch. But it was dominating and winning everything, but everyone was going, they're boring. So too much of a good thing hurts. That's the problem.
They were boring?
There was loads of talks in the press about them being boring. Oh, it's boring to watch. You're like, why is it boring? Like, what? People at the end of the season go, oh, Man City are boring. They got Haaland, aren't they? Of course they're going to win. You're like, yeah, but we all want Haaland in our team. So
I don't know why
it doesn't matter, right?
Tiki-taka or Man City football. Even me as a Man United fan.
I've even heard
football is boring.
I've even heard actual Man City fans say that they're boring, which I can understand.
Well, you can't please everybody, as he says. I can understand Bruno Lage being sacked because I think he spent 150 million,
Damn.
and that is a big budget for a team like Wolves, I guess. So it's understandable. Anyway, moving on to a London derby, West Ham v Fulham, and Skamanka looking like he is here to stay, looking like the Premier League is made for
Scaramanga.
him. What did I say?
You did. You said his name correctly. Angry one did
Thank
it.
you. Thank you very much. All right, and Fulham look like they're struggling without Mitrovic, Mr. Hinder.
I didn't know if I was talking again. I thought you were just doing all. I was just going to sit until you're done. That game
So,
was
so
that
what
game was
what
really
happens when you
exciting.
host is that you need to lead the pundits into it.
Yeah, but I
So
wasn't
you
going to
say
mention
some
Mitrovic. I
things,
only talk
you
about
say some
players on the
things,
pitch.
you say some things, and then they come in and then they make it sound good. So let's try again.
Fulham went 1-0 up with an absolute corker of a goal. Ex-Man U player, wasn't
Yep,
it? Pereira. What a goal that was.
they used to call him preseason Pelu.
It might have been.
Maybe he's
I don't know well enough after that. And then Fulham hit the bar. Of course, you're going to miss Mitrovic. It's a silly thing to think that you wouldn't miss a player of that quality, that goal scoring prowess. But that said, West Ham, I don't know if that was a bit of a lucky penalty. I mean, it was like a little bit of a rugby, but it was from a corner. They didn't usually get given very often, but that put them straight back in the game. And our friend Bowen scored that one. And then Skamaka, now his finish was cheeky, but that went to VAR for possible handballs. Um, I don't know. That did look like it was touched his hand, and the rule is if it touches anywhere from the sleeve down, and it's the player that scores, it doesn't get given as a goal. So I think I'd be a little bit upset if I was a Fulham fan. I'd need to see
With
it
the
real close up in order to
with
say
the
that it wasn't.
penalty though,
Yeah,
do you think the ref just listened to the shouts of the crowd because Pereira was trying to mark the player and trying to block him off with his hands and stuff. He didn't like pull him down, but I think was the ref just excited by the shouts of the crowd because I don't think that was a penalty.
I think it's a foul, but they're never given. They're never given that type of thing from corners. It happens all the time. There's just a bit of argy-bargy in the box. And considering the Premier League's let so much go this season, this was for me. Again, if I was West Ham, I'd be well happy with it, and I'd be claiming it all day. If I was Fulham, I wouldn't be so happy. However, Fulham's defending for the last goal of Mikel Antonio finally got on the score sheet was some of the worst goalkeeping and defending you will see in the Premier League. And if you haven't seen it, check it out because I have no idea what went on and how he got the ball back at his feet to score that goal. It is, I want to say comical errors, but the game was already dead and buried at 2-1, but that really did. But it's good to see Mikel scoring a goal. It was probably well overdue.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Watch this, Neil. Watch this. This is how it works. So, Crystal Palace versus Leeds. Leeds starts the game really well. Good solo goal. Leeds looked like they were going really well. And Crystal Palace comes back into the game. Dunk, what happened to your team?
So you said his name.
I said your name too the last
You
time.
just-
I did. I said Mr. Hinder, and you were there dazing and daydreaming. Dunk?
I think Leeds are on a bit of a poor form at the minute. They're in that kind of position where they're drawing home games and they've got not much form away from home at all. Another point, like if matches were 30 minutes long, Leeds would be in for a big shout of being at the top of the Premier League. Like I don't know if this is like the transition. They should have had long enough by now since Marsh has been the coach since the end of last season. But they're just really badly fading away. Maybe it's I don't know if the players can't handle the tempo or that they just don't have the squad depth to like bring players in to affect the game in the second half. But yeah, they were really poor in the second half. Credit to Crystal Palace. So Eze is a player I really like and hope to see maybe around the England squad one day. And that was a cracking goal to finish off. Poor defending to let him get the shot away from the edge of the box.
Big Steve, in terms of Iberi Eze that Dunk has just mentioned, he seems like he has some sort of free role when he plays for Crystal Palace. There's a good understanding with him coming in from the wings or from the middle with Zaha. Scored a very good goal today. Do you think he is in an era where there are just way too many wingers for England, for him to get into the England squad? Or once again, in terms of having a player that can have a free role, England has the likes of Grealish, Foden, players that can do that. So is that one of the things that will actually stop him actually making it to the England team?
I think Yeah, it'll be that, but there's also that stigma in it where taking players from lesser clubs to the England side is kind of like unofficially frowned upon. So if there's someone who's half decent at a bigger club, they'll always go ahead of him. So even if he played the blinder for the rest of the season, he won't get in ahead of Grealish, an average Grealish or an average Maddison or an average Foden. He just won't because he's playing for Crystal Palace.
You put Maddison
I
in
think-
there. Your point was valid until you added Maddison at Leicester and that.
True. I take that out. Yeah, but generally, he does offer something different. I think he had a long spell out injured. He's come back very strong, and he's got a slightly different role for Palace at the moment. And he's taken the burden off Zaha in that side.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Match day 9 in the English Premier League. Arsenal on top of the table. Will this give them the belief, and will their fans actually believe that they could win the title? Liverpool not playing too well, predictable, as the boys have mentioned here in the studio. Hopefully, they can turn it around. At least the Arsenal fans will be hoping for that they can do that for next week. In our prediction league, ladies and gentlemen, looking at the fixtures, we would select 4 different fixtures for next week, and the boys here in the studio will give you their scores, and we shall see who continues to make it even better leading the table. Who's leading the table now?
I think it's Big Steve, unless you've updated it.
No. Big Steve, you're leading, yeah? All right, the games that were
I think
picked
the
out for
angry
next
one's
week.
winning.
I was, but last time I checked, I thought it was Steve.
You got 72 points by the looks of it.
Sorry, Steve.
I think he
Oh,
was just
man.
bringing you in on that one.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he was leading.
Yeah.
He's getting me
You know
back.
what?
He's getting me back.
I really like that dance you were doing.
All right, game number 1. Let us see. Spurs v Everton. Mr. Hinder.
2-1 Spurs.
Ooh, 2-1. Would you look at that? Okay. The angry one.
2-0 Spurs.
Big Steve.
3-1 Tottenham.
Nobody giving Everton. Super Frank Lampard's best fan dunk.
Everyone just nicks your score. Like someone says something, and you think, I'll go for something different. 2-0 was the one I was going to go for, so I'll stick with that.
Okay, staying with you, Dunk. Your team v Arsenal. You're playing at home. You think you guys usually do better when you're home.
Which one of
so
his teams? He's got about 8
Leeds
of them.
I just, you see, this is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. I just said Leeds v Arsenal. Dunk.
Yeah, he's got you banged to rights there, Neil. So Leeds can only draw at home at the minute, and Arsenal are on fire. So I'm going to go, what will we say, 3-1 Arsenal.
3-1 Arsenal. Okay. Neil.
4-0 Arsenal.
Big Steve.
3-1 Arsenal.
3-1 again. And the angry one.
2-0 Arsenal.
Man United, Newcastle. The angry one.
3-2 Newcastle. What are you laughing for?
It's just funny. Can I not laugh at your score? All right, Big Steve.
2-1 Newcastle.
All right. Okay. Dunk.
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw for that one.
Neil.
4-0 Newcastle.
All right. And Liverpool, Man City.
You
Neil,
asking?
Me.
patience, people. Are you in a hurry?
Yeah, well, we were just all on like, is Haaland playing or not? Liverpool, same team that turned up today against Man City. They're going to get spanked. 5-0 Man City.
Neil, sometimes, man,
Haaland versus like Liverpool defense.
I really worry. I really wonder what's up with you. 5-0.
Did you see that Liverpool defense today? Imagine
Liverpool
that
is at
against
home.
Haaland.
Okay, cool. The angry one.
I think Liverpool forfeit the game because they don't want to play against Haaland, so it ends up being 11-0. But in reality, probably no. Liverpool will score 4-2 City.
Big Steve
3-1 Man City.
and Dunk.
God, he nicked my score again. 3-1. I'm sticking with it. 3-1 City.
Okay, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Please, if you like what you see, what you hear, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on @GRC Football TV, and you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Match day 9, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a good weekend for football. Arsenal top of the table. Thank you very much, boys. Until next week, it's goodbye from Mr. Hinder.
Take it easy.
Goodbye from Dunk.
See you later, guys.
Goodbye from Big Steve.
See you later.
And goodbye from the Angry One.
Adios, amigos.
Till next week, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye and more thanks.